Hi, it's Randy from Professional Floor Covering, making sure you don't miss what's happening in your hometown. It's Hometown Today on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
This is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Jung Garden Center, not WBEV or Good Comer Brands. Good morning. Welcome back to Hometown Today. Wednesday is really one of my favorite days of the week because the garden doctor, Dick Zondag from Jung Garden Center, joins us until 11 o'clock. So ring us up with those questions. He is here to help, and I feel like after what we experienced last night, it's the garden doctor to the rescue.
Yeah, it was quite a storm. But the good thing about it is it brought the rain. You know,
Yeah.
we're getting kind of dry, and I think we've got enough rain now that it can stop for a while.
I think so too. We are all on board with that. Our phone lines are open for your questions at 885-4446. 885-4446 is the studio line. And of course, you can also text. Jeff Hall producing the show today, always keeping an eye on the text line for your questions at 887-9595. 887-9595 is our text line. We are live from the Slumberland Furniture Studios and also the Daily Dodge TV studios this morning. So please check out the live stream at dailydodge.com. I was honestly thinking about you and the garden center out in Randolph last night because as Wade and I were on the air sharing what was developing with all of the warnings and the watches, when we saw Randolph come up specifically and then also heard Sheriff Schmidt talk about the extremely high winds in the Randolph area. You really were in the path of that. How is your family out in that area, and how are things looking this morning at the garden center in Randolph?
Well, fortunately, you know, we have a lot of plastic greenhouses, and you know they act like big sails, but you know they're manufactured so they can take the wind. So we had very little damage in the nursery or in the greenhouse area, and so no, we came through really well. There were a lot of twigs and branches and leaves laying on the ground, and that kind of stuff you can deal with because you know the plants are very they're programmed. You know they can handle this. So you know if you've got broken branches, get up there with a saw and make a clean cut, and then you can, you want to be really good to them. You can use a pruning paint on them to seal up the injuries and things like that. But for the most part, I think, you know, even if you had a little bit of hail damage, those plants will grow back. There are buds hidden down, even with tomato plants and peppers and things like that. There are buds down below ground that will grow again, and it's surprising how fast these plants will recover. You know, I have most of my garden in, not completely, but it just came too quickly.
What else do you have yet to plant in your garden, Dick? And what are some of those things that people can still look forward to getting in the ground?
Yeah, well, I always tell people that when I lived in the old house, I very seldom had my garden in before Memorial Day because we were really busy all the time. And what you'll find, too, is when the ground is getting warm now, and so when you put seeds in warm ground, they come up much faster than when you put them in cold ground. And so people that had planted their gardens 3 weeks ago, by planting them right now in warm soil, by the middle of July, things have caught up, and there's very little difference in the production and things. So, you know, I haven't planted my tomatoes or peppers or eggplants.
Oh, eggplants, I love those. I love the nightshade plants.
Yeah. And I planted a few beans, but I mean, my carrots and beets are in, and they're, I don't know if they've peaked up yet, but I put them in my raised bed garden because they do so well in that very loose soil. And of course, the potatoes are starting to show now through the straw that I put on top of them, so they're starting to come up, and things will start growing now that the warmer weather has come. Onions, be sure you give them a little extra fertilizer right now because you want the plants to grow. I should have brought some pictures along in my raised bed garden that I have onions in. The onions have got I think 4 or 5 leaves already.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and they're probably a foot to a little bit bigger than that. So I'm going to have some really beautiful onions this fall. So maybe we'll bring a couple along.
I was just thinking that please do, because you talk often about, getting those softball size onions.
Yep, and it's not that difficult if you really use the right variety. You treat them the way they should be treated. You want them to grow really, really fast now, because onions have 2 stages. They have a stage where you have the growth of the plant, so you get a nice set of leaves. And I watch other YouTube channels too. I don't, not beside my own. And there's a guy that specializes in onions, and he says they get 13 rows of sepals.
Wow.
If you count an onion,
Yeah.
you could get 13 rows, and if you get the leaves growing in the early part of the season, before the bulbing response comes, and that has the thing that causes a bulbing is the day length.
Oh.
The length of day and night. It's actually night, but it's when you reach that critical point where the onions know it's time to form that bulb. And see, what they're doing is they're forming a bulb because that's where the seed comes from next year.
Oh,
Onions
okay.
are biennial, so you plant that bulb that you eat. If you plant that back in the soil, that's when you get the seed heads. And so the plant is bulbing up so that it forms that seed head for next year, but that we eat it before it has a chance.
Of course we do.
Of course,
It's good
because
stuff.
it makes everything taste better, right?
It does. I like the sweet Vidalias.
Yeah.
The garden doctor, Dick Zondag with Jug Garden Center, with us here this morning on Hometown Today. And we do have a text. Jeff, what is the question for the garden doctor? And thank you for keeping an eye on the text line.
Oh, you're welcome. June says she planted a red maple 3 years ago. The lower branches don't have leaves, which I assume deer are eating them. What can I put on branches to keep deer away?
Good question.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because you can put a deer repellent on them. I mean, you can spray them with a deer repellent, but the problem is after every rain, you'd have to go out and do it. Now, I guess what I've learned through experience is if you go out and you use this repellent a couple times and the deer come and sense that, they go to another tree. That's why I always tell people to do things in your garden, and then they go to your neighbor's garden and eat his garden instead.
Oh, that's funny.
You want to get them used to going to the neighbor's garden,
That's
so
right.
they leave your garden alone.
All kinds of advice from the garden doctor this morning. That's
Yep,
fantastic.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, you can. There are repellents. The things that would be in it would be dried blood, moth crystals. There's a fungicide that makes the taste bitter, and that's what if you've got things in the fall that you want to protect from deer damage. After the danger of rain is gone, you put this deer repellent on, and you put it on with some kind of a sticker, which would be like dish soap or something that makes it cover the whole plant.
Okay.
It makes it bitter to the taste of the mice or whatever you're trying to, rabbits and things like that. And so, like I said, they taste it once and then they go to your
Go to the
that
neighbors.
isn't traded. So
That was a good question from June. Thank you. And of course, our text line is open for your questions for the garden doctor. 887-9595 is the text line, 887-9595. And the studio line's also open for your questions for the garden doctor at 885-4446, 885-4446. When you were chuckling about watching, other gardening videos on YouTube, you are now a YouTube star, kind of, because
Well,
you have your own YouTube channel and you're doing all these helpful videos for folks. What are some of the
just-
latest?
we just put one up on planting roses from Bare Root.
Okay, we get a lot of questions during your show
Yeah,
about
yep.
roses.
So we showed how deep to plant it, where to plant it, if you're using a grafted rose or an own root rose, and then A few days ago, we videotaped uncovering it because you mound the soil up around the canes to keep them from drying out while the roots are establishing, and now the plant is on its own. And I think we planted it about a month ago, and it's starting to really take off. And,
Oh, good.
You know, once you get those roots established and you get the plant in the soil and fertilize it and give it what it wants or what it needs and make it happy, then it performs for you. And so, yeah, the roses really did wonderfully over this winter. I don't think we've ever had a winter where my roses came through as well as they did this last winter. You know, they're already almost in blossom in my yard. Things
Wow.
that I planted, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but, you know, you cover them with the soil around the graft union and stuff like that, and usually the rose dies back to where you've got them covered, and then you cut them back. But this year, I had to do very little pruning of dead wood away, and
Okay.
most of the plants I just trimmed back to where they had nice pencil-sized diameter, because if it's smaller than that, the buds are a little weaker, and you get much stronger growth if you cut them back to where you've got a nice strong bud. And boy, they're almost 3 feet high already. And,
Wow. That's
yeah, it's going to be
significant.
really pretty when they really do break bud.
That's
So,
nice.
Yeah,
Congratulations
Well-
on that.
I win one for a change.
It's a good feeling, isn't it? We are going to head to the phones at 885-4446. Good morning, caller one. You are on the air with the Garden Doctor.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I have a maple tree, and I got the opposite problem. I have no leaves on the top. Does that mean the tree is dying, or?
Okay, what you want to do is scratch the bark. Just take your fingernail and scratch the bark. If it's brown and dry underneath, yes, it's probably dead. If it's green and moist, it probably will still come. Now, if it did die back, what you want to do is train a new leader back into the tree so that you keep it growing up. And you do that by taking a sprout that comes off the main trunk and bend it so it's going vertical, and then take masking tape and put about 3 layers of masking tape around it, holding it vertical. And the reason you use masking tape is that it won't girdle the tree. You know, by the time the masking tape degrades, the new wood that has grown in that sprout should keep it vertical, and that will grow into your leader. And then you can cut the dead part of the tree out.
This is an older tree.
Okay?
It's probably planted it in 93
Okay.
or 4.
How much of the tree is dead?
Just the top. The bottom all has nice green leaves on it, but the top, last year it was just a little bit, but this year it seems to be more.
You probably are having some root problems. What I would do is around the drip line of the tree, wherever the tree would shed water if it was an umbrella, get a good high nitrogen fertilizer, you know, a lawn fertilizer. You know, if you don't fertilize your lawn, put a little extra lawn fertilizer around the drip line of the tree and get it growing, because maples are notorious for, especially if it was a bigger sized tree when you plant it, for girdling itself. And so what you want to do is get those feeder roots active on the outside of the tree so that the tree grows. But I would still, I don't know, how tall is the tree?
It's pretty big. It's higher than the house.
Oh, okay.
Two-story house.
That's what I would do. I'd just try to get it growing, because what'll happen is if the tree grows well, it will probably put out a few vertical sprouts so that you won't have to worry about the tree looking strange.
Okay.
And,
And then you
and I
said you
wouldn't
could.
worry about the dead wood. I think your danger of falling out of a tree is more than the danger of that tree being hurt by the dead area. By fertilizing it and getting it growing again, it'll cover that up.
Okay. Then you said you could keep fuchsias over the winter.
Yes, you can.
How?
What you do is you bring them indoors, into a cool garage, or maybe hang it in a sunny window, The leaves will all drop off because the leaves that are initiated outside are going to be much different in structure than the leaves that will be initiated indoors. And then probably in January or February, you'll notice that dead-looking fuchsia plant will start sprouting. You can cut it back if you want to make it fuller or you want to control the size of the plant. But then fertilize it, and it will be in blossom in 3 or 4 weeks.
Because I tried last year, and I put it in the basement, and I don't think I had it by a window, but the leaves all dried up, and I got it out this spring, and it seems like it's dead to me.
Okay, well, I would fertilize it in sealants because when you get out into the western states in Washington and Oregon, or when you get into the southern states, fuchsia is an outside plant.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks for calling.
Thank you. Studio lines open for your calls for the Garden Doctor at 885-4446, 885-4446. And you can, of course, text us at 887-9595. 887-9595 is the text line. Jeff Hall, who is producing our show today, happy to keep an eye on those texts and make sure that they make their way on air to the Garden Doctor. And, you know, when folks head over to the Garden Center in Randolph or any of the many locations that you have, they just simply have to ask the questions there too. You've said before that you don't have to ask for the Garden Doctor, but your team at all of the Jung Garden Centers are so knowledgeable and can really help people.
Yeah, they can. Most of them are gardeners themselves. We have a lot of high school kids working for us, but we also have a lot of what would I call them, mature people?
Yes, there you go. Just like us.
People
yes.
people that have gardened, and know
that
what
have
they're
that
talking
experience.
about. And if they don't know the question, we have people to back them up. And if worst comes to worst, they can send the sample in to me, and then if I don't know, then I go to the university.
See, you're always there to help in many ways. That
Yes,
is
yeah.
wonderful.
So, we try to not only provide a product line of, a wide variety of things, but we try to help people so that they have good luck with their things. I've taken over a lot of the customer service from an individual that retired or found greener grass on the other side of the road. But I spent an hour and a half this morning answering email questions that come into our call center that the customer service ladies don't feel
knowledgeable
enough
Yeah.
to answer. And so I had one from Montana and one from New York, and asking just different questions about growing trees in pots, or the one from Montana had trouble with some of his trees being hardy enough. So I told him basically what I told the guy with the red maple, that you should train a new leader if the plant goes through and dies back in the wintertime. Usually when a plant dies back, if it's still alive, it won't die back again, and you just have to retrain what you want it to do.
Yeah,
So-
because they're smart. Those
Yep,
plants
they
are
are.
smart, like
You bet
you
they
shared
are.
before. The Garden Doctor, Dick Sondag with Jung Garden Center, with us here this morning until 11 o'clock on Hometown Today, which is brought to you in part by McKinstry's Home Furnishings in beautiful historic downtown Beaver Dam, and presented by Professional Floor Covering, your floor, and so much more. More with the Garden Doctor, Dick Sondag with Jung Garden Center, when Hometown Today continues here on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Getting to know your friends and neighbors, this is Hometown Today on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Amy Hudson and Dick Zondag, the Garden Doctor with Jung Garden Center, back with you here on Hometown Today, live from the Slumberland Furniture Studios and also the Daily Dodge TV studios, as we are streaming live at dailydodge.com. The Garden Doctor is with us until 11 o'clock, so plenty of time for you to get your questions to us on the studio line at 885-4446. 885-4446 is the studio line. And you can also text 887-9595. 887-9595 is our text line. And Jeff Hall at the ready to share your text with us here this morning. You have so many locations scattered about our area. You, of course, are primarily at the Randolph location for Jung Garden Center.
Right.
Where are some of those other locations that folks can stop in?
Okay, well, the first off-premises store was in Stevens Point, and my dad was really instrumental in getting that thing going, and they've really done a nice job. They're actually our second biggest store now.
That's wonderful.
So, that's the farthest north location that we have, and then we have three in the Madison area, one on Northport Drive, one on Nesbitt Road on the south side of Madison, and then I kind of consider the Sun Prairie location a Madison location
Sure.
too, but that's right as you're coming into Sun Prairie.
Yeah, you can't miss it, the big sign right there.
We got that sign there. And then we started in Stoughton last spring. So that's, and then Randolph, of course. So, we've got 6 locations, and like I said, really good people, very good assortment of products. We have pretty much all of the things that we have in the catalog, plus a lot more, because with a catalog you have to, one of the things that we do with a catalog is we analyze it by square inch.
Okay.
Because it costs us about $200 a square inch to get that catalog printed and in the mail.
It's a big deal.
And so you have to sell a lot of products. But then we have more specific pesticides, more range of fertilizers, so that if you've got a specific problem or a specific plant that you want to fertilize, so we can give you a fertilizer that's meant for that, although we do have broad spectrum fertilizers and sprays too that you can use, but the stores have a much wider variety of things. The bare root room is closed now. It's really high time. If somebody wants something bare root, we still are mailing things out for this weekend. This will be the last weekend of bare root through the catalog, and you'd have to go to jungseed.com to get that, to get those things ordered. But we have a wide variety of potted material now, so we're not out of shrubs or out of trees or out of fruit trees. We have them, instead of bare root, we have them potted up in nursery containers, so that the plants are already growing. And that rose video, I did show how to transplant a potted plant too. And with the roses, because they're only grown a couple of months in a container, they don't get root bound. But most of the nursery stock that we sell has been in the containers for almost a year now. And
Wow.
we have about 40 acres that we have nursery containers on, and so we grow almost all of the plants that we sell we grow in our own soil and pots, and what you'll find is that there are a lot of roots on the outside of the pot, so you have to get them out of that root bound condition, and you do that by either pulling the roots out of that soil and getting them out into the native soil, or you have to take a knife or a razor blade and go about an inch into those roots and cut them, because it's not going to hurt them. It's going to stimulate them to grow, but you have to cut them an inch into the root ball on the 4 sides of the pot. And then you want to plant them so that if you do enrich the soil that you put back around the plant, which you should do with compost and sand if you've got clay soil, but you should also use some of the native soil, because when that plant hits that interface between the soil and the good soil that you're planting them in, you want them to go out into the native soil rather than staying around going around in that potted area, because that especially with shade trees and bigger trees, they can actually girdle themselves. The roots, will, if they go around, will eventually kill the tree itself.
Oh
so
my goodness. Don't
commit
want that
suicide.
happening.
No, you don't want that to happen.
We are going to head to the phones at 885-4446. Good morning, caller 1. You are on the air with Garden Doctor.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
I am great. How are you this morning, Tyler?
I'm doing pretty good. I got a question for the garden doctor.
All right, let's hear it.
I don't know how old the tree is, but how often should you prune a tree? We got a tree in our backyard. I don't know when it was planted. Is it planted anywhere between '05 and '08? My
Okay.
sophomore to senior year of high school.
What are you? Well, is it a shade tree or a fruit tree?
It's just I think a shade tree.
Okay. In most cases, shade trees don't need a lot of pruning, but if you've got a lot of branching near where the crown of the tree starts, you can thin that out when the tree is smaller so that you get a more open, shady thing, especially if you want the tree to spread out. And then if you get dead wood in a tree, it's probably a good idea to try to take that out too, because if you've got dead wood in the tree and it breaks out, that leaves a spot where the wood can start rotting. So you want to have all the dead wood out of the tree if possible. But you just want to get a good open structure. With a shade tree, you want to keep that central leader growing as high as you can, because the higher that central leader grows, the stronger the tree will be. Especially with fast-growing trees, keeping that central leader growing is really important. With fruit trees, though, you want the leader to get as high as you want the tree to start, and then you want to cut the leader out and get the tree to spread out, because with fruit trees, you want the sun to penetrate into the tree as much as possible. So instead of getting a taller, rounded tree, you get a more open, horizontal tree, and you'll get much better fruit by having that tree spread out.
Oh, thank you, and have a happy Memorial Day to both of you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Tyler,
Thank
to you
you.
as well. The Garden Doctor, Dick Sondag with Young Garden Center, with us here this morning until 11 o'clock on Hometown Today. Of course, taking your calls and your questions at 885-4446. That's our studio line, and our text line is 887-9595. More with the Garden Doctor on Hometown Today here on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Owner Professional Floor Covering, welcoming you back to Hometown Today on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Welcome back to Hometown Today here on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. The Garden Doctor, Dick Sondag, with Junk Garden Center, with us until 11 o'clock this morning. And of course, he is always at the ready to help and answer your questions. So let's hear what you have. Studio lines open for you at 885-4446, 885-4446. And you can also text those questions in. We've even had people text pictures in. That's also helpful. Our text line is 887-9595, 887-9595. And just as we were coming back in from break, you were sharing, we can do a visual because we are live at Daily Dodge TV, streaming at dailydodge.com, in addition to being in the Slumberland Furniture Studios. But you had shared that your strawberries were about that big. What, it's about a quarter big?
Yeah, I would say between a nickel and a quarter.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah, because I covered that area of my strawberry patch with row cover.
Okay.
Which is I think it's a petroleum extruded type material.
Is this what kind of created like a greenhouse
Yeah,
effect?
yeah,
Okay.
and so I had them covered all winter with that, and
They were
so,
probably loving that.
Yeah, they do. They loved it a lot because the snow covered it and kept it cool underneath there. But then in the springtime, it just slowly brings them to life faster. And then you just leave it on until the danger of frost is gone. And when you uncover it, they're just green as grass and growing and flowering. And so I have part of my strawberries that way, and part of them are just starting to blossom now.
Okay.
And so we have strawberries over a longer period of time.
That's the best.
Yeah.
We do have a text here at 887-9595. Jeff, what do you have for the Garden Doctor?
Well, we got two of them. First of all, Sarah says her strawberry plants seem to be smaller than they should be for this time of the year. What can I do to help them catch up?
Okay. Well, fertilizer.
That's the key.
Yeah. And I wouldn't over-fertilize them. You can get a good, well-balanced fertilizer where you've got some of the first number, which is the nitrogen that makes them grow, but then you've got the second and third number, which gives them a healthy thing. But when they first come out of winter, when you first uncover the strawberries, it's good to give them a little fertility because that gets the leaves growing really, really well. And then because you have good growing leaves, you'll get much nicer fruit.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Sounds
just
like an
a
easy
nice
fix.
fertilizer. In fact, if you use a soluble plant food, I like Fertilome's Rooting and Blooming would be an excellent fertilizer to use on them because that makes the fertilizer instantly available to the strawberries, and that will make the leaves start to grow and become nice and large, and then you'll get nice large berries.
And that's what we want. I hope
yeah.
that's helpful to Sarah. And thank you, Sarah, for the text. And Jeff, you shared that you also have another text for the Garden Doctor?
You bet. Brenda says, when do I stop cutting asparagus, and wondering how many years after I plant rhubarb can I harvest it?
Good questions.
Asparagus, I would say probably another 2 weeks. I usually tell people to cut the asparagus because otherwise you've got that stem above ground. Because, if you're breaking it off, that's to figure out where it's woody and where it's edible.
Oh, okay.
But now what I would do is cut it off so that you're not leaving a stem above ground. And I would say 2 weeks, but because you really don't want to cut it too long, especially if the diameter of the stem starts to get smaller, because the diameter of the stem is directly proportional to the amount of the size of the crown in the ground. And so you want to give them an opportunity to put some replenishment back into the ground so that next spring you have a nice crop again.
Okay.
And I know with us, we've been eating asparagus like crazy.
Well, you have to when it's in season.
And sometimes it gets to be a little much, but I love asparagus. As far as rhubarb, I think as long as the stalks are nice and big, the year after you plant it, if you fertilize it and it grows well the first year, you'll get a nice crown going. And with rhubarb, you want to pull that off. You don't want to cut the stems because that will leave an entry for diseases, and insects to become a problem. So if you're going to harvest rhubarb, the best thing to do is just grab a hold of it near the ground and just pull it sharply, and that leaf will let go, and the crown will be able to grow over the wound, and then cut the leaf off. Actually put that around the bottom so you keep the weeds down, or put it in your compost pile, and then enjoy the rhubarb. We freeze a lot of rhubarb because we like to have rhubarb crunch and rhubarb cake and
All that good
pies
stuff.
and stuff like that all year round.
My mom used to make rhubarb sauce,
Mhm.
and we would
Oh,
enjoy
yeah.
that on vanilla ice cream.
Yep.
It was really good. The garden doctor, Dick Zondag with Young Garden Center, with us here this morning on Hometown Today. Of course, ready to take your questions via text, like the last couple at 887-9595. And of course, you can ring us up on the studio line at 885-4446. When you were talking about, those roses and, cutting those roots, with a nice sharp blade. And then for folks that perhaps are dealing with some tree damage because of the storms last night, giving those broken limbs a clean cut. You need to make sure your tools are ready and they're sharpened and good to go so you can get the job done. And the place for you to take those tools is Pro Edge Sharpening. They will sharpen anything with an edge. So those saw blades, those knife blades, mower blades, big stuff, small stuff, commercial and personal tools, your go-to place to get them sharpened up and ready to go to do the job they are meant to do for you is Pro Edge Sharpening, a division of Professional Floor Covering at 713 Park Avenue in Suite D, and online at proedge.com. More with the Garden Doctor when Hometown Today returns here on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
It's Randy from Professional Floor Covering. You're listening to Hometown Today on the 5,000 watt flamethrower on your hometown station, 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Welcome back to Hometown Today, where the Garden Doctor, Dick Zondag with John Garden Center, is with us until 11 o'clock. We are live from the Slumberland Furniture Studios and also the Daily Dodge TV studios this morning. So please check out the live stream at dailydodge.com. And don't be shy. You can, of course, call in with your questions for the Garden Doctor. That's why he's here to help you. 885-4446 is the studio line, 885-4446. And Jeff Hall producing the show for us today, keeping an eye on the text line. So feel free to text those questions in to 887-9595. 887-9595 is our text line. And we are going to head right to the phones and take our caller on line one. Good morning. You're on the air with the Garden Doctor.
Hi. I was just wondering, we were out picking rhubarb the other day, and on the bottom of the leaves, there were 3 really shiny gold, almost look like ladybugs, but shiny gold. So I had never seen anything like that, and I've been having rhubarb for like 50 years. But it turned out, we Googled it, it was a golden tortoise beetle. And it says they're more for the East Coast and stuff. Is that a new invasive thing, and are they harmful?
Well, they will eat the leaves.
Yeah, they had holes in them all over the place.
If you want to get rid of them, a simple garden dust will take care of them with the malathion in it. It's
okay.
It's a.
Has anybody else seen any, or do you know that they were around here a lot?
I have not seen it myself. We have a half a dozen rhubarb plants in my backyard, and I haven't seen the holes yet of that, but I haven't looked specifically for it either. So
they were really pretty. They're pretty gold, shiny, but I don't think they're very good if they're going to eat leaves.
Yeah, but I think probably just a broad spectrum garden dust should take care of that if you want to get rid of them.
All right. Well, there was only 3 so far, but if I see any more, I think I'll dust them.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for the call. And we'll head to line 2. Good morning. You're on the air with the Garden Doctor.
Good morning. I'd like to ask the Garden Doctor how I can get my green beans to come up. I am having trouble with that. And it says on the package to treat with inoculants. Would you explain that and how I do that?
Oh, yes, I can. 2 things. What you can do with beans and peas and some of the legume type seeds, it's a good idea to soak them overnight in, start with warm water, and the seeds themselves will swell to almost twice the size that they were when you put them in the water. Now, you don't want to get them too far along, but that would pre-germinate them so that they'll come out of the ground much faster. The inoculant, because peas and beans are legumes, they have a symbiotic relationship with nitrogen-forming bacteria, and bacteria form little nodules on the roots of a plant, and they'll fix nitrogen from the air into nitrates that feed the plant, and in turn the plant will send nutrients down to the root system that will help them grow, and so it's a symbiotic relationship. And we sell the inoculant, and what you just do is you just dust the. It's a very fine powder, and you just. What I do if you're planting the dry seed in the ground is just put the seed in like a styrofoam cup and just moisten it a little bit, and then put some of that black powder in the cup with the plants, and then just shake them up so that black dust sticks to the seed coat. And they're very intelligent bacteria. When the root comes out, they jump off the seed coat onto the root system.
Oh my goodness.
No,
Are you joking? You're joking.
Yes,
Ninjas, he's joking, right? Oh my goodness.
But anyway, those bacteria, when they're in the area where they are, they'll attach to the root system. And if you dig them up, you'd see it looks like little galls on the roots, but it's actually a symbiotic relationship where those bacteria are fixing nitrogen into fertilizer that makes the plants grow better. All the legumes do that. Alfalfa and
Okay.
a lot of the things do. But soaking them overnight, putting that inoculant on them. If you've been putting inoculant on your beans for years, they do overwinter in the soil, so they will do that naturally. But if you haven't ever done it before, the best way to see if it works or not is to treat some of them and not treat others, and plant them in the
Okay.
same area and see what happens.
Yeah. My yellow beans come up okay, but it's the green beans that I have trouble with. So
Yeah. Well, soak them overnight before you plant them, and if the seed swells, it means that they're doing their thing.
it should be warm water, you say?
Well, that's what I start with. I don't start with hot water. I start with
No,
warm water.
Warm water.
Yep. That
Okay.
gets the process going, and then the water will cool off. And by morning, like I said, I just did another video on peas, not
Okay.
beans, but peas, where we soaked the seed overnight, and then we had the dry seed next to the seed that had been soaked, and they were about half again bigger. And then you just stick those in the ground, and they come up much faster. And in fact, if you're going to grow them in the fall, pea seed doesn't like to have hot soils. They don't like warm soils. And so if you're going to try to get a fall crop of peas, you should start them indoors in cell
Wow.
packs and then plant the plants out.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you for your information.
Yeah,
I'll
thank you
give
for
that
calling.
a try.
Yes, thank you. 885-4446 is the studio line, 885-4446 if you have a question for the Garden Doctor. And you can also text Jeff Hall. Happy to keep an eye on the text line for us today and share your questions via text at 887-9595. This is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Young Garden Center, not WBEV or Good Karma Brands. You have so many helpful videos on YouTube. We want to make sure that people are subscribing to your YouTube channel. You can
Right.
look for the Garden Doctor there. You're getting quite the catalog of videos on
Yeah, I
YouTube.
think we have like 60 different videos out there now.
That's
Some
really
of them are
great.
repeats, though. Some of them you do over again so that they do better. It's like we were talking about rhubarb, strawberries, and asparagus. There's still time to plant those.
Okay.
I still advocate starting the asparagus and the strawberries in pots before you plant them to get them green and growing, rather than planting them outside. But rhubarb is such a hardy thing, you can just plant that thing out. We also have them potted, so if you want a growing
Rhubarb plants
plant
in a
the
pot?
garden center, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do have rhubarb growing in containers, so if you want one that's already started out, and we'll give you probably give you nice stalks next year.
Okay.
Rhubarb's a heavy feeder, though. It likes to have, so putting compost around it, or well-composted manure, or fertilizing it will make it grow even better. So, yeah.
And how sensitive is rhubarb just regarding where to plant it? Do they need a lot of sun, a lot of shade, a little bit of both?
Yeah, the more sun it has, the better it likes it. But it will handle. I mean, things that say full sunlight will usually handle at least a half a day's shade, or a little less than that. If they're planted in the, so they get a little shade, that's fine. But most plants that are in a garden like to have full sunlight. The more sun it has, the better the produce, and the larger the stalks will be.
Well, and fertilizer seems to be key for so many things. We were talking off air just about those beautiful hanging baskets that folks can get
Sure.
at Young Garden Centers. And I shared some of your advice with my mother-in-law recently, because she always hangs a basket in the same spot and it doesn't do very well. And it's appropriate for what
Right.
she's buying. But I mentioned the fertilizer advice, and you had said about every third week.
Yeah, every third week, you take a soluble plant food like Fertilome's Rooting and Blooming, or Algo Plus has a flowering formulation, and just giving it a little extra food will keep it growing. And if it gets overgrown, what you can do is selectively go back into that hanging basket and trim a few of the older stems out, You don't want to destroy the thing.
Don't give it a haircut.
No, but you can do that. I mean, with petunias and things like that are bedding plants. In mid-September, I'll go in with a head shears and cut them off and fertilize them, and then in a couple of weeks they're back in blossom because they're annuals and they want to form seed. And if you cut all the, when they start to look ratty, it's because they've got seed that's formed and is starting to mature. So if you cut the seed off, the plant says, I got to get going. So you give it another shot of fertilizer and then it starts blooming again. So what we want is what they produce, but it's not why they produce it. It's because they want that seed. When an annual is defined as a plant that grows from seed to seed in 1 year. And so if you cut the seed off, the plant wants to get it going again. So that's why you deadhead things. You take the seed-bearing part of the plant off, and it usually, most of those plants, when you get a new flush of growth, you'll get a new set of flowers, just like with the hybrid teas and that sort of stuff. Once the flower starts dropping its petals, if you go in and you cut it off, I always cut my roses back to the first 5 leaflet leaf. The ones just below the buds will have 3 leaflet leaves, but you cut it back to the first 5 leaflet leaf, you'll get a much stronger regrowth, and then fertilize it again. And you can do that up through middle of August, and you just get new flowers coming.
That's nice. Keep them growing.
Yep, keep them growing.
The garden doctor, Dick Sondag with Junk Garden Center, here with us until 11 o'clock this morning on Hometown Today. Certainly ring us up with your questions at 885-4446, 885-44... Did I do an extra 4? 885-4446. There we go.
Yep.
And you can also text in those questions at 887-9595. 887-9595 is the text line. And Jeff Hall, who is producing the show for us today, happy to keep an eye on those texts that are coming in and share them. And you always have so much knowledge to share during the show. We really enjoy the program, and I know our listeners certainly do too. And again, we want folks to know that they don't have to ask for the garden doctor when they walk through the doors at any Junk Garden Center location, because you really have a great team of folks that are at the ready.
Try to have experienced gardeners, at least some of them in the store. So when people have trouble with something or when they have a question about something, we can usually answer it right at the store.
That's really nice. And if you can't get the answer right then and there, you're happy to do some research so you can help people out.
Yep.
It's really nice. 6 locations of Junk Garden Center throughout our area. You are primarily in the Randolph Garden Center, where things were looking okay. You said you didn't drive through Randolph this morning just regarding the storms that went through last night. But things are good at the garden center.
Yeah. The plastic is still attached to the greenhouses, and the front of the store still has a lot of really nice annuals. I mean, we have some potted plants that have a flag on them for Memorial Day. If you're having a party or something for Memorial Day, they're designing a lot of different plant containers and things like that for certain occasions, and a lot of nice hanging baskets. I saw a lot of the red hanging baskets with the million bells in them.
Those are
really,
beautiful.
really in their prime. So if you're having a party, we do also pot up more hanging baskets, so we have them throughout the season. So if you're entertaining and you need a fresh basket, we usually have them in the stores all summer long. So you can come in, and if you've got an old one that you want to hide and put a new one there,
Spiff
we
it
have
up a
them.
little bit.
Yep.
That's nice to know. And, with it being Memorial Day weekend, a lot of folks will be heading out to, cemeteries to honor their loved ones. And,
And we do want to honor the soldiers and things that have
Yes.
fought the wars that keep us free and give us the ability to do what we do here in the U.S. I thank God all the time for the free land that we have, where we can practice what we want and for the most part do what we want. And and we have to thank the veterans for and the ones that sacrificed their lives to keep us free. I sometimes wonder about people, the young people, they don't seem to understand the sacrifice that people have given over the years for what we have, and it's just a shame that we're losing a lot of that. I guess I don't want to go more into the political stuff,
but I know what you're saying. On Monday here on Hometown Today, we had 3 veterans that joined us for the program. Lois Livenhagen was with us to talk about a ceremony that will be streaming live on DailyDodge.com, and it's so very important to pause, to give proper thanks, and to understand that our Memorial Day isn't just a day for us to enjoy a parade and have a barbecue. It is important to remember and give thanks.
Yeah, in Randolph, I know we have the ceremony up at the cemetery, and the VFW, gathers flags from people that have sacrificed or have passed away, and there's hundreds of flags out there, and you think about all those people. Some of them are ancestors of mine, and you have to pay tribute to them.
Absolutely. We do have a call on line 1. Let's see how you can help. Good morning. You are on the air with the Garden Doctor.
I guess we lost her.
Well, hopefully she'll call back at 885-4446. 885-4446 is the studio line. And that voice that just piped in is Jeff Hall, who is producing our show today and keeping an eye on the text line for your questions at 887-9595. Our text line for your questions for the Garden Doctor, 887-9595. And there is still a lot of fun to be had. Plenty of time for us to get busy digging in the dirt, playing in our gardens, and spiffing up our lawn. When we were talking about the proper times to fertilize the lawn, something that came up on the program last week. How much more time do we have? Because we're kind of getting.
I tell you, we're getting to that
time
when you're going to be fertilizing the weeds rather than the lawn. And so I think with all this nice rain we've had, the lawns are pretty green and growing. And although we're at that very, very end of the tipping point for fertilizing lawns. And so, if you haven't done it and your lawn is not growing well, I guess with the rains that we've had, and we're expecting a little more rain next week, I think you could still sneak a lawn fertilizer in there.
Okay.
But then, after we get past Memorial Day, it's usually best not to fertilize the lawn until we get into that mid-August, early September, when the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting longer and the temperatures are starting to be more comfortable. That's when the grass really starts to grow again, and that's when you start fertilizing in the fall. You give them a good shot of a lawn fertilizer with a high nitrogen, so you get it growing, and then in October, early November, you give them the winterizer, where the nitrogen is backed off a little bit, and then you have the phosphorus and potassium that give the roots a treat to get them ready for winter.
Excellent. And it looks like, our caller just disappeared there. 885-4446 is the studio line for your questions for the Garden Doctor, 885-4446. And you can also text us at 887-9595. 887-9595 is our text line for your questions for the Garden Doctor. Dick Zondag with Young Garden Center, who is with us until 11 o'clock this morning here on Hometown Today. Feels like there's just so much happening right now. Is it a rush to get things in? I know that early in the program we had talked about, what people can still plant.
Sure.
And is that window closing for a few things?
Actually, not.
Okay, good.
Right now, we're at the tail end of the growing season for lawns and things. Like grass seed probably should have been planted a month ago.
Okay.
But if you're willing to do the watering to keep that seed moist until it comes up, you can still do that. But for gardens and even perennials, we've got a whole yard full of perennials and annuals that can still be planted. I haven't planted many annuals yet either, so I still have a lot of work to be doing. And I guess with the rains that we've had, it's really pretty difficult to work the soil. You don't want to work the soil when it's muddy like it is now. The rule of thumb is you take a handful of dirt, handful of soil. Want to call it correct, right?
Yes.
And you make a ball out of it. And if you push down and it's greasy, don't do it because you
Okay.
ruin the structure. But if it crumbles and it falls apart, then's the time to do it. And I did some planting last Saturday around my house, but I didn't get it all done. So the annuals will be going in probably Monday or Tuesday, and the little bit of planting that I have to do, I mean, the tomatoes and peppers, I haven't done those yet because I do, we do hundreds of plants because we do a lot of testing for our Totally Tomatoes catalog. We like to find new varieties for that catalog because we have hundreds of varieties of tomatoes, and there's always new stuff coming, and a lot of the old varieties too. I mean, there are people that maintain these heirlooms that are really, really neat.
Those are beautiful to look
Yep.
at, and some of the tastiest tomatoes,
Yep.
in my opinion.
Yeah,
and aromas are great,
Yep.
if you're doing sauces and
Yeah.
things like
so
that.
we're going to be testing. I think Tracy in our test garden has said that she has 18 or 20 different tomatoes that she wants to get into that tomato patch and get some pictures and see how they perform. So
Yeah,
we
that's
try to test the seeds that we sell here in Randolph before we sell them, because even though they're not produced in Randolph, we don't produce very many of our seeds anymore. We have tested them under our climatic conditions so that they should do well. So if you're buying seed from Jung, it's been tested for a short growing season and a cold winter.
It's good to know.
Yeah, so we have perennials and things like that that should make it through the winter, and so that's our philosophy, I guess. We're a company that we do sell in all 48. Well, I think we do sell a little bit in Hawaii and Alaska too, but
Okay, that's
that takes
exciting.
too much money to get them their
To
stuff.
ship them?
They have to pay the freight on those things if they want them. But we try to have products that are meant for short growing seasons and cold winters, so that people that grow in the Midwest to the East Coast, they can buy their things from Jung's, and they'll have good quality and good luck with the things we have.
That's reassuring because it's time spent, dollars spent when it comes to, just getting that stuff ready to go
Yep.
and then nurturing it and taking care of it throughout the growing season. Dick Zondag, the garden doctor with Jung Garden Center, with us until 11 o'clock this morning here on Hometown Today. Please let us know if you need some help with something. We're coming up on about 10 minutes left in the program, and our studio lines are always open for your questions at 885-4446, 885-4446, and you can also text at 887-9595, 887-9595. Here's a weird question for you. So when you talk about shipping things to Hawaii and Alaska, what would be some of the plants that someone might want in Alaska?
Basically, the same things that we plant here in
Here?
Wisconsin, because
Okay.
although their growing season is much shorter, they have longer days, and so
Yes.
things mature much faster up there than they do here. So yeah, we have a few customers that are in Alaska, and they've sometimes transplanted from Wisconsin, and they still keep in contact.
That's nice. We do have a text, so we're going to head to the Slumberland Furniture Studio where Jeff is, because we are here in the Daily Dodge TV studios. Jeff, what do you have for the garden doctor?
Well, Brenda's back, and she says, I have a blaze maple, a younger tree, but my husband burned a pile in the backyard, and it was too close to that tree. None of the leaves burnt. Top of the tree looks okay. Will that tree... Oh, some of the leaves burnt. It was a typo. Top of the tree looks okay. What will that tree... Or will that tree come back?
Well, it
I think
depends.
your husband's in a little trouble.
Well,
We can't help with
you
that.
know, I had that same situation with my daughter. We trimmed a bunch of trees and pushed the things down by the lake and set them afire, and we actually had some of the dead wood in the top of the tree
Oh,
burning.
no.
What you're probably going to find is that the bark on the side of the tree that was exposed to that extreme heat will probably be cooked, and And so the bark will start peeling off, but the bark and the cambium on the opposite side of the tree was not injured. And again, the trees are smart. They'll take up the nutrients in the water that they need from the part of the tree that didn't get injured. And I guess if you see loose bark on the tree, you want to prune it off, because you don't want insects and disease and wood rotting organisms behind that wood to stay moist if the bark is there. So if you've got loose bark, you should cut it off, and trim it back to where it's attached to the wood underneath it. But I don't think there's much problem. I don't think there's much chance you're going to kill the tree by doing that.
Okay.
I mean, you don't want to do it on purpose.
Of course not.
But and you don't want to kill your husband either.
No, definitely not.
No. So, but I think you're all right. I think you'd want to probably fertilize it a little bit so that the plant is in a healthy condition. But I think it will recover just fine.
Okay, good. Good luck with that, Brenda, and thank you for the text. Our window, for more calls and texts is closing. We are coming up on about our 5-minute mark. The show goes so fast. So if you do have a question for the Garden Doctor, now is the time to make sure he hears it. Our studio line open for you at 885-4446. And of course, you can text just like Brenda has done at 887-9595. As we are quickly approaching the end of the program, Dick, what else would you like to share today?
Well, I think, we talked offline about growing strawberries in hanging baskets and in pots. The thing you want to do is make sure that you're growing the right variety.
Okay.
Ozark Beauty, Fort Laramie. There are some of the varieties that are everbearing or that are day neutral, and that will give you flowers and fruit all the time. If you plant a June-bearing variety like Honey Eye or Jewel or those sorts of things, you just have green leaves all summer long, and then you'd have to protect the pot to make sure you get fruit next fall. So, be sure you use the right variety if you're trying to grow it in a pot or in a hanging basket.
It can be done.
It can be done, and they do make pretty flowers, and of course, picking a strawberry off a hanging basket every once in a while is good too. So
it is, as is a cherry tomato right off the vine. And
Yep.
looks like we have a call on line 1, so let's get to it. Good morning. You're on the air with the Garden Doctor.
Good morning. One of our friends grafted a favorite apple tree twig onto a plum root, and now we have it. It's about 36 inches high,
okay.
with leaves, but the leaves are starting to have little brown spots on them. What is happening?
It could be apple scab starting. Just a regular spray with Captan in it could help with it. I'm surprised the graft took, though, because usually you have to graft like on like. Grafting a plum on an apple rootstock or an apple on a plum rootstock, although it may be okay. But anyway, the solution to the brown spotting would be Captan, or there are a couple of other fungicides. Daconil is another one that would work on controlling it, stopping it where it is, and so that's what I would do.
Do you have something like that at your store?
Yes, we have that in our garden center in Randolph, or in any of our stores.
And do you have to buy like a whole quart of this, or are there smaller bottles?
I think they come in certain sizes, and if you keep it dry, it lasts for years.
So you just put it in water and spray it on?
You make a paste out of it like you do with cornstarch, into gravy. You make a paste out of it first, and then you dilute it a little bit more, and then you put it in water, and it goes into solution real easily.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call. Good luck. And
Okay.
it looks like we also have another text line. Jeff, what do you have for the Garden Doctor?
Well, they're piling up. I have 2 of them now. Mary said earlier you spoke about fertilizing trees. What would one use?
Almost any fertilizer would work with trees, because you're not necessarily trying to get them to flower or to fruit. So a little extra lawn fertilizer around the drip line of the tree is what I would do.
Sounds simple.
Yeah, grass fertilizer is fine.
Okay. And Jeff, you said you also have another text?
Yes, Kim says, "Hi, Dick. Can't remember what you said about the rhubarb when it goes to seed. To cut the plant in half, can I do that right now? Or when is the best time? And also, love this show. Thank you for all you do."
Yeah, I wouldn't do it right now because the plants are growing pretty vigorously. I would wait until fall. And the seed heads, when your rhubarb starts to have seed heads, that is a good sign that it needs to be divided. And so the best time to do it is either in late fall or early spring. When it's in full growth like this, it probably isn't the best time to do it.
Okay, very good. And sincere note of thanks to the listeners who called in today and
I do
texted
wanna
us.
do one more thing.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we have new store hours starting June 3rd.
Important. So, share
I want to
those.
go over that because
Absolutely.
I just got an email from our garden center manager. The new summer store hours starting on June 3rd, Monday through Saturday, it will be 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. except Randolph, which is closed on Sunday. So 9 to 5 and 10 to 4 on Sunday and closed in Randolph. So those would be the new store hours after Memorial Day. And we are open on Memorial Day 9 to 3.
Okay, that is really good to
So
know.
Memorial Day, if you've got a project that you want to get something for, 9 to 3.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. We
thank you.
really enjoy having you with us. And for folks that want to listen to the show again, please tune in at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Dick Sondag, the Garden Doctor with Young Garden Center, here with us this morning on Hometown Today. And this has been a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Young Garden Center, not WBEV or Good Karma Brands.